For years, Kurt has been chasing online fame on his channel, Cuts World 96. He throws everything at the wall: draw my life, stories, gaming sessions, shoe reviews, even keyboard shortcut tutorials. He even tries to capitalize on his divorced dad, Chris, a former DJ. Kurt's mom took the breakup hard, so he stuck around to babysit and earn some cash. But despite all his efforts, his viewership remained stubbornly stuck in the single digits. This lack of success stings even more because Kurt used to babysit Bobby, who's now a hugely successful influencer with his channel Bobby Basecamp. Kurt considers himself Bobby's friend, but Bobby seems more annoyed by him, constantly shooing him away from the camera. After a decade of failed streams, Kurt snaps. He's ready to give his channel one last shot with a project he calls The Lesson, promising to teach viewers how to build an online following. Step 1 of The Lesson involves a car rigged with cameras and a bunch of water bottles. Apparently, in Kurt's world, if you're not online, you're invisible. He turns his car into a rideshare vehicle for spree, hoping for interesting content. His first passenger is a real charmer, a guy who refuses to buckle up and gets suspicious of the cameras. Kurt brushes him off, claiming they're for protection. This delightful individual also spouts racist views, and Kurt worries this might alienate his current audience, which basically consists of Bobby. So, Kurt decides to spice things up by driving a little more aggressively. The passenger complains, but Kurt just pushes a free water bottle on him. Turns out, the water's laced with poison. Kurt even brags about a tutorial he made on how to do this without getting caught. Nice guy, right? Kurt throws on some music and speeds through a stop sign as the man coughs himself to death in the back seat. Bobby, Kurt's sole viewer, thinks it's all a staged act for views, but Kurt doesn't care. This is part of the lesson, you see. Nobody should suspect the truth at first. The more undetected kills, the bigger the shock factor later. Kurt's next passenger is a snippy realtor who leaves her sign in the trunk. After some awkward conversation, she reaches for a water bottle on her own, becoming Kurt's second victim. He films himself with the body, even cracking a tasteless joke about drinking the poisoned water himself. Just then, his dad, Chris, calls for a ride, but Kurt coldly hangs up. He then tries to cover his tracks, using the dead woman's fingerprint on her lifeless face, no less, to unlock her phone and give himself a fake 5-star rating on the rideshare app. He even responds to a text message in a rude way to make it seem like the woman won't be showing up for a meeting. With the body disposed of, Kurt picks up his next passenger, a loud, obnoxious guy named Mario. Kurt tries to subject him to his own music, but Mario complains about it, refusing the complimentary water as well. Ignoring Mario's protests, Kurt takes a detour to pick up another passenger, a famous influencer and comedian named Jesse. Unfortunately for Kurt, Jesse ditches the ride the moment Mario starts hitting on her. Desperate for content, offers her a free ride just to get her in the car. As they drive, Kurt learns she's a famous comedian with a huge following. He begs her to share her secret to success, but she simply says it's because she's funny. Meanwhile, Mario keeps hitting on her with gross comments. Jesse, annoyed by these two weirdos, secretly records everything for her social media before getting out of the car. Kurt fumes. He blew his chance to befriend a successful influencer. He changes course abruptly and takes Mario to a deserted construction site. Kurt drives so fast that Mario gets car sick. He forces Mario out of the car so he doesn't vomit inside. As Mario stumbles away to find a restroom, Kurt blasts his own music and speeds up. He slams the car into Mario, launching him over the roof and landing with a sickening thud on the windshield, perfectly positioned for a gruesome camera shot. After dumping Mario's body and cleaning the blood off his car, Kurt stalks Jessie on social media. He sees she has a stand-up show that night and takes it as a sign. They're both big things happening on the same night. In reality, Kurt's a nobody with single-digit viewers. His only fan is Bobby, who still thinks the murders are fake. That's because Kurt himself is a phony. He pranks homeless people and pretends to help them, all for views. Jessie, on the other hand, is genuinely funny and relatable. Next stop, a gas station. Kurt ditches the realtor's sign and fills up the tank, all while arguing with Bobby, who calls him boring and begs him to spice things up. With the car cleaned, at least for Mario's blood, Kurt takes Bobby's advice a little too literally. He drives recklessly for his next passengers, a trio of socialites named Richard, Kendra, and London. Richard and Kendra scream in terror, but London thinks it's an exciting adventure and jumps in the front seat to chat with Kurt. He ignores their protests and takes them off-road to a junkyard. He tells Richard and Kendra to stick their heads out the sunroof for a beautiful view, perfect for social media. They actually start to have fun, but the fun ends abruptly when Kurt speeds up and slams the sunroof shut, trapping them inside with his music blaring. Wild dogs from the junkyard lunge at Richard and Kendra, ready to attack. Kurt grabs a power drill from his car and brutally kills London. Disgusted by the carnage, he takes his car to a car wash to clean up the mess. Kurt calls Bobby for his reaction, hoping to brag about his triple kill. But Bobby isn't watching. Kurt's stream is just too boring. Furious, Kurt demands the promised shout-out from Bobby. Bobby suggests Kurt learn from Jesse, who seems genuine. Jealousy boils over, and Kurt criticizes Jesse's social media posts on her page, whining about things as trivial as filming stories vertically. Jessie fights back. She posts the car video online, exposing Mario and Kurt's creepiness. Then she goes to visit her grandma, taking good care of her while recording it for her fans. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. Jessie worries they weren't expecting anyone. Phew, it's just a friend, a fellow comedian named Mike, there to discuss work. Meanwhile, Kurt shows up at Bobby's house. Bobby, fed up, tells Kurt to leave. They're not friends or collaborators. He even broadcasts it all live on his stream. Bobby throws insults at Kurt, who gets closer, demanding help. This attracts Bobby's fans to Kurt's stream, eager to see the other side of the fight. In a shocking twist, Kurt stabs Bobby with a knife. Finally, Kurt's stream hits double digits in viewership, but the audience still thinks it's all an act. Bobby tries to fight back with a gun, but Kurt overpowers him and finishes him off. Kurt hijacks Bobby's stream, his audience exploding now that he's in the triple digits. He even films himself showering to clean the blood and rummaging through Bobby's belongings, all for his viewers. Kurt's phone buzzes. It's his dad, Chris, begging for a ride to a gig. Kurt ignores him at first, wanting to see Jesse's stand-up show. But then Chris mentions a famous DJ named Uno, and Kurt's eyes light up with dollar signs. His chat explodes with recognition, and Kurt can't miss this opportunity. He picks up Chris, and their father-son reunion is a disaster. They bicker like children, and Chris freaks out when he finds Bobby's gun in the car. Seriously, Kurt? Hiding skills of a toddler. The fight only ends when they have to ditch the gun. Oh hey, convenient cops nearby. Finally, they reach the club and meet Uno. Kurt begs for a shout-out on her social media. Uno is unimpressed, but bored out of her mind, probably because Kurt is so unpleasant. She agrees to a shout-out on one condition. Kurt drives her to a taco truck. They finally find a taco truck, but things get weird. Uno makes Kurt take goofy pictures of her, then forces him to wait in line for her food. The line is super long, so Kurt tells gross stories to scare people away. Seriously, dude? While he's yucking it up, Uno finds the gun Kurt stole from Bobby in the car. She takes silly selfies with it, then grabs a water bottle. Big mistake. It's one of Kurt's special death brews, and she instantly faints. Kurt gets back with the food, only to find Uno unconscious. He ditches the water bottle, not the gun, because apparently that's a souvenir. But not fast enough. Cops show up and ask Kurt to do a sobriety test. He tries to play it cool, saying Uno's just his girlfriend and asleep. But Uno wakes up, guess the poison wasn't strong enough? She freaks seeing the cops, shoots one of them, and flees. One cop chases her, while Kurt uses the chaos to escape in his car. Now he's got a police chase and a deadweight in his passenger seat. Not exactly the best drive-through experience. Now there's a full-on chase, and Kurt's livestream explodes with viewers. Apparently people enjoy watching idiots get chased by the police. In a desperate bid to escape, Kurt drives like a maniac and crashes into a homeless camp, intentionally killing some people before his car flips. What a winner. Meanwhile, Jessie gets a ride to her show from a creepy guy named Mike who won't stop bragging about his connections. He even does a pathetic opening act that bombs with the audience. The crowd goes wild as Jessie takes the stage. Tucked away in a corner, Kurt nervously clutches his gun. Jessie opens with some familiar jokes, then dives into her crazy spree ride with Mario and Kurt. She talks about how Kurt's desperate need for followers made her think about her own life. True happiness, she says, doesn't come from subscriber counts. All those views just mean you're being judged and hated on for other people's entertainment. With a powerful mic drop, she smashes her phone on stage, declaring her freedom from social media. The audience erupts in shock. Jessie's honesty moves Kurt. He considers leaving peacefully, but his plan falls flat. Spree has suspended service thanks to his murderous rampage. Stuck, he books a ride with another app called GoGo. A friendly driver named David picks him up, even making a lighthearted joke about not being the city's crazy killer. Kurt, ever sensitive, takes this the wrong way and kills David in a blink. Meanwhile, Jessie's fed up with Mike. He keeps filming her even after she ditches social media, so she calls a GoGo. David's car pulls up, but surprise, it's Kurt behind the wheel. He reveals himself as the driver she mocked in her set and brags that he was at her show. Since she smashed her phone, she's got no way to call for help. Thinking Jessie's cornered, Kurt announces he's taking her home for a love instead of hate session. Jessie, not one to give up, fights back. She grabs a phone charger cord and strangles him until the car crashes into a garbage bin. Dazed, Kurt punches Jessie unconscious. He drags her body into his headlights, ready to finish her off with a live audience vote. The viewers, bloodthirsty as ever, want him to kill her. As Kurt adjusts a camera, he loses sight of Jessie for a second. That's all it takes. She jumps into the driver's seat and rams the car into him. Jessie slams the car in gear, throwing it through the side of Kurt's house. He dives out of the way just in time. They fight. Kurt tries to suffocate Jessie with an airbag, but she throws him off. They scramble apart, Kurt disappearing into another room. Back in the car, Jessie pleads with the live stream viewers for help, trying to convince them it's real. Suddenly, the door bursts open and Kurt's dad, Chris, walks in. He's in shock. The house is trashed, and Kurt's mom lies dead on the floor. Here's the twist. She was actually Kurt's first victim, killed before he even started his whole lesson thing. Enraged, Kurt grabs Bobby's gun from his car and shoots his own dad multiple times, killing him instantly. Jessie tries to back out in the car, but it's jammed. She throws it in drive and plows forward, slamming Kurt into the wall. The viewers shout at her to check if he's dead. Jessie approaches cautiously, only to find Kurt still breathing. With a disgusted look, she grabs his phone and smashes it against his head. We flash back to a moment earlier, where Kurt is basking in the glory of having 50,000 viewers. The chat explodes again, this time demanding a selfie with the dead body. Numb, Jessie takes the picture. The next few days are a blur. Kurt's case becomes national news. Jessie skyrockets to fame as a multimedia star. Everyone hates Kurt, but some dark corners of the internet like 4chan and Reddit hail him as a hero. As these forums are flooded with twisted praise for Kurt, one user announces a movie about him, Spree.